Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
DJ Angelo.
You're rocking with the best, the best, the best.
I'm the hottest round with the crazy style.
Hey, what's happening guys? It's your boy DJ Angelo and I'd like to welcome you back to my turntable tutorials. Now that I've covered most of the popular scratch techniques, I thought it'd be a good time to take a break from the scratching and teach you a bit about beat juggling, which I know a lot of you guys have been asking about. So for the benefit of all of you DJs that are new to beat juggling, I'm going to start with the basics. Just like scratching continues to evolve, beat juggling has also become a broad and complex element of turntablism. Its origins date back over 30 years when DJs such as Kool Herc, African Bambaataa and Grandmaster Flash pioneered a new style of DJing, and in doing so they gave birth to hip hop. So in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to loop two of the same record, and I consider looping to be the foundations of beat juggling, just like the baby scratch is the foundation of scratching. So you need to master looping before you can move on to rearranging the beats and executing more advanced juggle patterns. When choosing records for beat juggling, I'd recommend using something fairly slow. Old school hip hop beats around 90 to 100 BPM work pretty well, and try to choose something that begins with a solid kick drum at the start of a new bar sequence. Before going any further, I always cue both records to the start of the song, which is preferably a kick drum, and then I place a sticker at the 12 o'clock position to give me a visual reference point to guide me back to the start of the track. Okay, we're now ready to learn an essential part of looping, which is the backspin. Backspinning basically means to rewind the record in an anti-clockwise fashion back to the beginning. So after a certain section of the track has been played, we would backspin the record in order to be able to play it again. You need to master this with both hands, but I'm first going to show you with the right turntable. To demonstrate, I'm going to play the first 2 bars of this track and then backspin the record to the beginning again. As there's 4 beats in 1 bar, I'm going to let this record play for 8 beats. It's very important while the record is playing to be aware of how many times the record actually turns, or alternatively how many times the marker passes the 12 o'clock point. Hopefully, if you watch the marker, you'll have noticed that the record span around 3 times during the 8 beats of this track. So to get back to the start of the track, we would backspin the record 3 times to return the marker back to the 12 o'clock position. Okay, we're going to try that again, but this time, after the 8 beats of the record have played, we're going to close the crossfader to mute the sound made by the backspin, and then we're going to reopen the crossfader at the same time as releasing the record to play it for a further 8 beats. Try and get into the habit of opening the crossfader at the exact same time as releasing the record. So for 1 bar or 4 beats of this track, you can see that the record rotated about 1.5 times. So to backspin this record, I would do this. Okay, now for the tricky part, which might seem confusing at first, but trust me, you'll get it with a bit of practice. We're going to loop the beat by switching back and forth from record 1 to record 2, so that the section of music plays continuously and seamlessly, but this time we're going to backspin both records. I'm going to start with an 8-beat loop. Again, both records need to be queued up to the first beat. And I'm going to start by playing record 1 for 8 beats. After record 1 has played for 8 beats, I'm going to switch the cross fader to the right and play record 2 for 8 beats. Whilst record 2 is playing, I'm going to backspin record 1 back to the beginning and then play that for 8 beats immediately after record 2 has played for 8 beats. I'm then going to backspin record 2 and play that immediately after record 1 has played. It's quite difficult to explain, it might be easier if I show you. So here's looping an 8-beat section. Once you've mastered an 8-beat loop, you can move on to a 4-beat loop. The records will now only play for half the time, which means you have to be quicker at backspinning them to keep the loop going from record 1 to record 2 and back and forth. But on the plus side, the records will play for a shorter amount of time, so you have less work to do when backspinning them. So anyway, here's a 4-beat loop. From here, it's a case of challenging yourself further, so I'm going to halve the time again and I'm going to show you a 2-beat loop. So that was a demonstration of some of the different lengths of time that you can loop 2 of the same record. To finish off this tutorial, I'm going to show you an example of how you can switch between the different lengths of your loops whilst keeping the beat playing seamlessly. Okay guys, that's it for this lesson. What I showed you today are some important foundations in beat juggling. So take your time and develop the technique of looping. Remember to keep your hands away from the needle when you're backspinning, and try not to be too heavy-handed when you're looping, otherwise your needles may skip. If you are struggling to keep up with the records when you're looping, as an extra tip, you could always pitch your turntables down to the slowest setting until you have the technique, and then you can speed them up later. Okay, so I'll be back soon with another tutorial, so until then, peace and progress.